Hello, and welcome back to the Empowered to Lead podcast. I can't believe we are already at episode 20. Been doing this for about 4 months now, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me in this first season of Empowered to Lead. It has been ups and downs and growth, and today we're going to talk about a little bit of that and what we can look forward to in season 2 as we enter 2026. I just want to share, first of all, some of the ups and the insights and the growth that's happened in season 1. Creating a podcast is a lot of work, intention, and love, and I've gone through some ups and downs. Mostly, I want this to be a place that encourages you in your role as a group practice owner, as a small business owner, as a CEO of the business. I want this to be a tool that inspires you to be the CEO and the leader that you are, and provides you with some practical tools and insights in order to make that happen. I've got to be honest, there has been a lot going on in this first season of the podcast for me, as a group practice owner, as a coach, as a person. And along with that, learning what it means to host a podcast has provided me with some fun learning curves, some insights from you as to what you want to hear, and the insecurities and the joys that come with starting something new. Very much like being a group practice owner. As we look back at season 1, some of the major themes or topics from the season that we have had, really running through all of it, is always your leadership and your CEO mindset. So each of the people that I interview, I try to start with the question, who are you as a leader? So that you can see yourself in them and walk away with something of, maybe that's something that I want to be, or who I want to be as a leader. We've talked about partnerships and people dynamics within our group practice, whether it's with a partner or for people who are working with us. We've talked about intentional growth versus expansion just for the sake of it. And along the way, we've had practical tools and reflective prompts to help you walk away with something and to be thinking after you have listened to the podcast. Some of the aha moments that I have noticed, or some of the patterns that I've noticed across these episodes, I have been affirmed in my belief that this journey as a group practice owner is not one size fits all. There's definitely templates and there's a roadmap that I believe is essential for setting yourself up to succeed as a small business owner. But if you've listened to the people that I've interviewed this season, you will see that everybody has their own little spin on it. They do it a little bit uniquely, both because of their needs and because of the people that they serve, the community and their therapists. One of the other things is that planning is key. Intentionality about who you are as a leader, where you're wanting to take your business, is one of the things that I have noticed as I am working with people as a coach, but also in the interviews and material that we've talked about here in the first season. And sometimes that intentionality starts when you are first getting started. You recognize that you want a template, you want a roadmap, you want to know exactly what you're doing. And then others are kind of like, oh, I've been doing this for a little while. I think I need to now slow down and create a plan and be intentional about where I want to take this business. One of the other patterns that I've noticed, or highlights, I guess, is that you are not alone in this journey. And I hope that you hear that through everything that we have talked about in this podcast. Whether you are part of my Facebook group, where there's people who are group practice owners across Canada, or you have a couple of people who you regularly text here saying, what the hell? or you have a coach, you are not alone in this adventure. And I hope that that comes through loud and clear through this podcast. And that you've heard that through what I offer, how I talk. I want to keep this real. I want you to know that I'm a little bit ahead of you in some places, but I'm also keeping it real. I am a person. I think that you can learn certain tools and things about yourself as a leader, but if you don't have people in your corner to kind of boost you up when you're having some of those insecurities or some of those questions, or you're just not sure because this is a new problem, or you need somebody to celebrate with you, to say, hey, you're doing awesome. Look at how that difficult conversation or that celebration went with your team. And this has been a learning journey, both for me and for you as a listener. So my learning journey, I really started this podcast because I wanted a place to help you step confidently into leadership. I have noticed that there is a gap in supporting group practice owners in Canada. I know there's a couple of other coaches or areas that you can get support. And a lot of times when we are listening to podcasts about business, we're hearing about the practicalities of the tools. And yet we are people and we face difficulties. We are being stretched in ways that we didn't know we were going to be stretched. And I want this podcast to meet that need. I want you to feel like you are not alone, that you have what it takes and need to step into leadership and being the CEO of your business. I have learned many things in starting this group practice that fit in with that. I have learned how to do certain things like planning episodes, making sure my guests have all the information they need, facing my own imposter syndrome, and then coming through that. And I hope that or I recognize that is very similar to my experience and maybe your experience as a GPO or group practice owner. The learning journey that I hope you have had is to recognize you're not alone, which I've talked about a couple of times here, that there are ways to do this business that maybe you hadn't thought of before, and that you are recognizing certain leadership qualities that you want to implement. My vision for this podcast and where we're going is that I and others that I have come on will be providing guidance for you, providing practical tools, and also the chance to reflect as a leader who you may often feel isolated, and then providing those points of connection. And so maybe it's just hearing some of our guests to know that, oh, I've had that experience, or I'm going to tuck that away for next time and know that I'm not alone. Or maybe you've connected with some of our guests after hearing their stories and share some of your commonalities. I am learning alongside you. That's one of the things that I love about this job of coaching. I get to share some of my experiences and my learnings and guide you, and I get to learn from you as well. So that's one of the reasons I just love doing the interviews and hearing some of those learnings as we go. So some of the lessons maybe that I've learned through this season, and some of the reflections that I've had about our season 1. Some of the highlights are leaders are over-functioning. A lot of us are doing all the things alone, or we think we need to do it alone. And sometimes it's hard to share that load or to even imagine having someone stepping in. Clarity around vision changes everything. So when you are clear of where you're wanting to take this business and how you want it to look, it actually helps everybody around you. And culture matters. It's one of the things that I have noticed in the interviews is that we don't start a group practice to continue being a private practice owner. And so identifying what kind of culture we want reflects us as a leader, our goals for having a group practice, and what we're wanting to provide for those who work for us. And I've already reflected a little bit on what my experience has been in creating this podcast, but also what has this taught me as a leader and a coach? It has taught me, how do I want to say this? It's taught me to listen to what you and other GPO want, and then fit that in with what I'm wanting and able to provide. And how do your needs fit in with my vision for this podcast, and who I want to be as a leader? That episode about people pleasing as a leader wasn't just for you. Keeping people's considerations in mind while also, who do I want to be? Who am I as a leader? Who am I as a coach? And how do I want to show up so that I am my best self and provide you with the best service possible? It's taught me to just show up. I am very intentional about the days that I record these podcast episodes. I make sure that I have the emotional energy and the mental space to share what I think you need. But there are some days where that just hasn't been true. And I've chosen to just show up and take that step to just be me, to be real. And sometimes I've postponed recording because that matters to me, to show up with intentionality, with authenticity, and also some stretching where appropriate. I have also learned that technology, while I love it, can be frustrating. I love how it simplifies life, but I also want to be a person and be present, real, forgiving, understanding, and patient with myself, the process, and the limitations of technology. And I would say all of those are a reflection of my growth as a group practice owner as well. I wonder for you, what has growth looked like for you over the last 4 months, whether it's something that you heard on the podcast or just some of the learnings that you have had as a leader. Where are you growing? Where are you being stretched? This leadership journey is a process. It is not perfection. One of the things that I wanted to share as I wrap up season 1, I'm actually going to take a few weeks off of the podcast, and that is intentional. I read a book last winter, I believe it was, which is fitting because the name of the book is called Wintering: The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Catherine May. Somebody had recommended it to me. I was feeling a little bit burnt out, and I just really wanted to share with you snippets of that, some of the learnings that I took from that as we slow down in this season. It can be really hard as a group practice owner to slow down. You've got people who are therapists who are asking you questions, who you want to make sure their caseload is full. You want to show up to the best of your ability. You've got clients who are showing up, or maybe as we're entering December, maybe they're not showing up. And this is a slow period, and that creates stress within you. You might feel so many different things. And at the same time, I want you to consider if maybe now is a time to winter, to slow down, to allow yourself to, what's the word? To rest. How is that such a hard word to use? So some of the points that came out of that book that I wanted to share with you. Wintering is a natural part of life. And I don't think I've ever really reflected on that in the way that this book made me do that. So because I love spring and summer, when it comes to the seasons of the year, I love growth. I love the warmth. I love feeling like, hey, I can do anything. And then when it comes to winter, it slows down. I used to joke like, oh, the trees look like they're just dead because there's no leaves on them or anything. But winter is part of our lives. And there's actually a cycle in there that if we allow the winter, if we allow the slowing down to happen, whether it's periods of illness or burnout or grief, these are all experiences or universal aspects of our human experience. They are not failings to slow down and allow winter to be. And that translates into the understanding or the concept that rest is essential. It is not a weakness. And that is something that if you know me well, that is a hard statement to make. I don't rest well, which is one of the reasons I am recovering from a cold as I record this. It's so hard for me to slow down. I feel like I'm supposed to be productive all the time. And so when I slow down, when I got sick, I've been sick now for 2 weeks with an awful flu. And I know I'm really sick when I either nap or sit down and play Animal Crossing for like hours at a time because my brain can't handle anything else. And there's a criticism that starts to come in that you're not being productive. But if I slow down and listen to the concept of this book, I remember, and I've done better at this time, is that rest is essential. Your body can't keep going at the spring and summer pace all year long. Slowing down, retreating, resting, these are all vital acts of self-care and actually strategy for survival and healing. So if you are like me, if you have been pushing for a long time, your body, when you all of a sudden have a slow time, is going to go, ha, here we go. I've been pushing through and now you need to rest whether you're going to listen to yourself or not and get sick or something happens. So why not incorporate that into life, into your rhythms? One of the things that she talks about in that book too are how do you embrace the darkness? And one of the things I noticed a lot this year, especially, I think it's been the last couple of years on social media when the time change happens and all of a sudden it's dark. We really struggle with that. And I think a lot of that is, like she mentions in the book, is that it's hard to escape difficult feelings like sadness or loneliness. When it's sunny and bright out, we can keep going. We can push some of that aside. But when it gets dark, we cocoon and we winter and we have more time to reflect on some of the difficulties, some of the harder emotions. And if one of the things she talks about too in there is for those who have wintered, if you allow yourself that space to slow down, to rest, to embrace the darkness, there's actually a wisdom that comes from that. We know that from sitting in the room with clients who are like, I don't slow down and look at my emotions. I do everything I can to avoid them. But as we start to do that, as we give ourselves space to do that, we recognize that I can do hard things. I can work through some of these things. And it helps us as we navigate new experiences that, when I slowed down and listened and paid attention, I was actually able to move ahead more effectively. So it creates wisdom. And let's use nature as a guide. And so one of the things Catherine May does is she interweaves lessons from the natural world. She talks about dormouse hibernation, the resilience of Arctic plants, winter solstice celebrations, and swimming in icy water as metaphors and active teachers of how to endure and prepare for renewal. And also like how small comforts and rituals matter. So not just slowing down for the sake of slowing down, but what are some things in there that we can do that actually facilitate that grounding, that intentionality, and that embracement. So she uses examples of things like baking, walking, reading by a window, or for me with Christmas lights on, and finding small rituals that provide some of that stability amidst the uncertainty. And one of the things, too, when she's talking about this is a natural part of life, so it's not going to last forever. We have 4 seasons. Most of us recognize where we live that there are 4 distinct seasons. They look different, whether you're BC and it's raining, or you're the rest of the country and there's snow in the wintertime. But it doesn't last forever. It can feel like it at times. But spring is coming. And so winter is not permanent. And so if we give ourselves that possibility of slowing down, of reflecting, of giving ourselves space to do nothing, or what seems unproductive, we actually provide ourselves with the energy and the renewal and the trust in ourselves that once spring and summer come, we can move forward with more energy because we've taken that time to rest. So as you listen to that, as you reflect on what does wintering look like for you, I'd encourage you to just pause, maybe hit pause on this episode, maybe grab a book and notice, where is your energy currently being spent? Where are you able to or going to incorporate some rest as we go through winter? And for some of you, winter will just be between now and the end of the year. For some of you, that's going to be the next quarter. And for some of you, that might actually be the next year of what does it mean to slow down, to recognize what you need, how you're going to meet that need, and allow yourself to rest or winter. So on that note, I am going to winter. I am going to slow down and hopefully rest a little bit. I find quite often when I allow myself to rest, I actually get inspired and ideas come. So my challenge to myself in the next 3 weeks is actually just rest. And if ideas come, I'm going to write them down, but I'm actually going to give myself space to let them percolate. And so one of the things is putting a pause on the podcast, taking rest, closing out the first season, and contain my excitement for season 2. I am really looking forward to what this is going to look like for us as a group, as Empowered to Lead with the podcast, and for some of the offerings that I have planned for you. We've got interviews with Jessica Cowling, with Catherine Atkinson, Gisela La Madrid, and Tara Monroe. And you might not know their names right now, but they have some really good insights and learnings in their experiences as group practice owners. Actually, even as I'm saying that, they all are well-established practices with multiple sites. And so some of their learnings, their leadership styles, what has worked well for them over the time that they have been a group practice owner is what we're going to be sharing in the next season. And I'm looking forward to also sharing with you their unique leadership styles. So they have learned, they are not the people that they were when they first started as leaders. and they are consistently committed to growing and learning. And I'm excited for you to see a bit of yourself in them and who you want to be as a leader. Use them as inspiring. Season 2 is going to build on Season 1. We're going to have some deeper leadership lessons. I'm going to be providing some actionable strategies, and we're going to continue with the reflective prompts. One of the things that's going to change a little bit or be a little more intentional in Season 2 is that there's going to be a little more of a rhythm. So we'll have an episode with me talking about some of the insights that I have as a group practice owner, as a coach. And then another episode will provide some practical tools. So you're going to want to have your journal with you or listen to it while you can take notes on your laptop. And then we're going to have an interview with a group practice owner. And then that cycle will start again. So the next solo episode with me will have some insights from that interview, or my role as a group practice owner will have some practical tools, and then come back to another interview. So I'm going to encourage you to reflect. As you look back on Season 1, on the episodes that you've listened to, or maybe you're going to catch up on in the next few weeks, what are 1 or 2 takeaways that you have from Season 1? And then my challenge to you as a leader, my leadership challenge for you for this episode is to pause and identify one area that you want to step more intentionally into the CEO role in the coming months. So that may be rest, that may be some intentional steps in growing yourself as a leader. Both of those are intentional. Being clear about what you need, how you're going to meet that need, and how that affects you as a leader. So one area that you're going to step more intentionally into your CEO role in the coming months. Thank you so much for joining me in this first season. It has been a pleasure. I have loved hearing your feedback. And as we go forward, send me an email if you have ideas, either you want to be interviewed or something that you really want to hear about in this podcast. Email me at lisa@grouppracticenetwork.ca. Just a reminder that learning and growth are ongoing. We are not done with learning and growing just because we reached a certain milestone or a certain season. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to learn and grow alongside you in Season 2. And we're going to step into leadership together. Have a great day and have a great rest of the December season. And I look forward to connecting with you again in January. Thanks for hanging out with me on Empowered to Lead, the therapist practice. If you're ready for deeper support, I'd love to see you inside the Group Practice Connection, my monthly membership where Canadian therapists like you get coaching, community, and the tools to build a business that actually supports your life. You can check it out at grouppracticenetwork.ca. We're building something great here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it.
This is Michelle Abraham, and we are honored to have Lisa Catallo's Empowered to Lead podcast on our High Vibe Podcast Network. For more shows like hers and to grab your free gift from the gift fold, head on over to highvibepodcastnetwork.com.